I thought 5 was too many minutes for pre-stream stuff. And now I'm realizing 3 is too short. So that's a thing. Sorry about that. Kikimi's here. Hey, I still owe you a package. I know. Lee Burwell is here. Hello. Kids are asleep. Has brought the dancing bananas. Now it's a party. And the bot's doing its job. Great. Underpope it is. Thursday it is. It is Underpope. And Meridu and Ian. Hello. Yeah, we're here to record a podcast. I got off the difference between waiting time and rush time for ADHD. Yeah. Yeah, I got a fascinating email today, twice, of Podstars with a Z, and they want to get me guests for my podcast. So first, I have no problem with guests for the podcast. I have to turn people down. It's sad. I don't like to turn people down, but there's too many authors and too many books and too few episodes. But also I'm looking, and the sample pictures they have up is like, they're almost all of them are shouting men. Most of them white, most of them middle-aged. So it's just like angry, shouting white men for your show. And you get to pay for it too. And so I went and I looked and saw who they are offering and for how much. And it's mostly wrestlers and influencers and comedians. And while there were a good deal of different people that are actually on the site, it was mostly shouting white guys. So, yeah, I'm like, I don't know who what podcasters you're trying to court, but you're not doing a good job of courting me just with the image of all the potato heads. But yeah, they had like 1 or 2 authors that I hadn't heard of, and I couldn't tell whether the authors were nonfiction or fiction or what, because like their claim to fame is true crime and author. So I'm thinking they probably wrote a book about the true crime thing. Yeah, I don't want to give a platform to more angry, shouting white men in the world, Ian. That is true. Oh, right. I asked Ursula if I could ask her a question. Hang on 1 second, because it's pertinent to this stream. Just talk amongst yourselves. I'm so professional. This is great. Luckily, Ursula is in the middle of a book tour, but apparently present enough to answer my text, so we'll see. Imagine paying for an angry white man. Yeah. That'd be... Oh, yeah, it sounds like inviting Vox Day or Angry Puppies on the show. I'm good. Like I said, I got too many authors anyway. All right, I got my answer from Ursula. Let's get started. Yes, Ursula has a new book. It's called Wolfworm. It is disgusting. It has echoes of Bluebeard. Blackbeard's the pirate, has echoes of Bluebeard, Frankenstein, Dracula, Rebecca, and ASMR. Ursula has said that if you have a thing about bugs, then you get a free pass. You don't have to buy this one. Not that Ursula makes people buy her books, but specifically, you can say you're a hardcore T. Kingfisher fan, but you didn't pick up Wolfworm because of bugs. Hey, Poe, good to see you. But yes, I have read Wolfworm, and it's great. It's like, it's got a lot of North Carolina in there, a lot of North Carolina cryptid mythology stuff, and then bugs and a vampire, and boy, it's gross. But we'll talk about that when we officially start the podcast, which is about now. I should be writing season 22, episode 8. I told myself I wasn't going to do that anymore. Crud. Yeah, I think it's 8. Okay. Hi there, welcome to I Should Be Writing. This is a podcast and live stream for wannabe fiction authors, and I'm your host, Mer Lafferty. I've written 8 or 9 books. I've been podcasting since 2004. I'm old, and I talk into a mic about writing because I still feel all of the crap that new writers are feeling. I just know that you can get past it. And on this show, I talk about what I've been up to because I try to keep accountable, because I can't sit here and preach that you can write when I'm not. And frankly, it's been a bad couple of weeks. As I mentioned previously, my dog died, and then that's a much realer excuse, while the new one is I tried to do a new way of looking at my schedule. I tried to do time blocking. So the plan was block out the morning for writing, and then block out the afternoon for all the other stuff I do. Podcasting, Escape Pod, Patreon, admin, all that stuff. And so I realized that if I didn't finish all of my Wednesday work, well, it got piled onto Thursday. And then you can see how that adds on, because of course now I can't do Wednesdays and Thursdays work, so then Friday gets it, and it was kind of dumb, but I really wanted that structure to work because it sounds neat and clean. I'm sorry, it's today's my Escape Pod day. I'm going to do all the Escape Pod things. It sounds good, but I don't think it's working, but I wanted it to, so of course I got distraught. And I have finally crawled out from under the pile of things on fire from different days than whatever I was supposed to do that day. Mostly Escape Pod. I'm sorry, Valerie. And I'm going back to my original thing that worked, which is random number generator, which sounds chaotic, and it is, but somehow it manages to bypass all my executive dysfunction. It's like I can look at a list of things to do and just my brain just kind of turns into flatline. No idea where to start. I roll a die, it tells me start on number 9. I'm like, all right, I'll start on number 9. I don't know why this works, but it does. So that's what I'm going back to. The only problem with that is I want to guarantee that I write every day, or at least every weekday. And I'm not sure how to fit that in, because what if I don't roll that one? And I know Tree Lobsters made a browser plugin to do this, where you put the weight of what you want, WEIGHT, not the WAIT, of a thing, and then it's more likely to come up not just randomly, it's more favored. Again, I'm sorry, but I know my mind. I don't like digital to-do lists. I have to get a pen and a scrap of paper that's probably really easy to lose and scribble it all out. I just don't like making digital to-do lists. I do not know why, but that's my brain. So I got caught up on a lot of things yesterday. Today I had a meltdown and rage at stamps.com. I hate them. Worst UI in the world. I've had to contact their support several times for different reasons. So it's not like I didn't understand how to work one thing. No, the whole thing is broken. I don't know how anybody gets anything done on that site. I've tried different browsers. I just so much angry. But I will check on chat because y'all are talking. Oh, Mary Robinette Kowal is narrating Wolfworm? Wow. Of course it is. She's a North Carolina native. That makes sense. The Bug Sold You the book. Okay, excellent. Yeah, my kids into entomology too, so they're really excited to read it. Time blocking still requires you to know what time a thing takes. That is absolutely right. The kids are asleep. Because I can't tell you how much time anything's going to take. I just can't. And hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Anyway, stuff to say that I've been frustrated this week. And I'm hoping, I don't know, get stuff done. I've got a personal thing tomorrow, but that might free up some time for me to do some writing. And I'm feeling good because I am caught up on a lot of things that were on fire. So I'm thinking I just got to stick with the random number generator. So, if you missed our live stream of Ursula's book event on Monday, I got to interview T. Kingfisher for her new novel, Wolfworm. If you don't know, T. Kingfisher is Ursula Vernon's pen name. Because she's getting so popular now, I think more people are going to know the Kingfisher name, and I'm not going to know who I'm talking about when I say Ursula, but she's an old friend, so it's hard for me to think of her as somebody else. But anyway, we recorded and streamed her bookstore event. So if you weren't able to watch it, then I'll be posting the video in the Patreon and probably the interview as well. It was a lot of fun. She had a packed house. She was signing for an hour and a half. So, yeah, it's weird. My friend's a superstar. But we had a lot of fun interviewing, talking about disgusting things in North Carolina. And, yeah, it was a good time. So, I'll be putting that up soon. So, today I want to talk about rejectomancy. First thing is I think I found who coined the word, and he did so about 11 years ago. And of course I didn't write his name down because that would have made sense, but and I thought, oh, surely it's been around longer than that. But no, my first rejectomancy episode was in 2022. So that's well after. Let's see. Aaron Rudell, AERYN-RUDEL. And his website is rejectomancy.com. But what is it? Rejectomancy is mainly, it's wanting to find meaning in rejections. And I am in well, it's not unique because like Valerie in chat is in the exact same position, but we are in the interesting position of being both editors and writers. So we understand a little bit about how things go and what things mean. Weird thing under Pope, that's the second time that person has been brought up today, and I've never met her. Weird. But anyway, when you get rejected, you will get any number of these things. Or no, probably one of any number of things. That's the way I want to rephrase it. No thanks, not for us. Doesn't quite fit what we're publishing. there's something wrong with the story. And here it is. I just bought something like it. And I don't know what to do with it. That's usually books over short stories. And the problem is, besides the fact that your story's not selling, editors are, like everybody else in publishing, overworked. Both Valerie and I have a lot of other plates spinning. Valerie more than me. And sometimes the boilerplate of thank you for submitting your story. Unfortunately, it's not for us. Please don't take it personally. Paraphrased, of course. I'm paraphrasing. We don't say it like that. But still, it's like I try to make them personalized. Because often at the top, when we get the stories, there's a very obvious reason why we don't take it. Sometimes your story is in what I would consider the worst place, which is, it's pretty good. But that's unremarkable, and there are probably more remarkable stories in the slush pile. Problem is, it's hard to improve on pretty good. So let's break it down and see what these things mean. As someone who's been in workshops, if I read a story that has multiple bad things, like everything's broken, I know that telling the writer that, if I tell the writer that, it will crush them, unless they're like stronger than me and a lot of other writers I know. Well, what I do is I try to pick one thing that they can work on. I think you should work on your beginnings or your characters or your denouement or whatever. And that's not really a rejection thing, but it is a pointed thing of you can work on this and get better. Now, no one likes to be pushed down onto the floor, so it's going to hurt. But the more you understand about it, the easier it'll be. That gives you a path forward. So actually, this story is bad because of X or Y is one of the most productive rejections you can get. Other times, and we've seen this a lot in Escape Pod, a story can be brilliant, but that's not what we publish. And I don't write a lot of short stuff these days, but I remember writing a story and just like throwing it to any submission area, any magazine taking submissions, I would throw it. So I understand that mentality, but really, you need to know what your magazine is publishing. One of our, Valerie in chat says, this is too grim for us is one of our top rejection reasons. Yes, exactly. And grim and bleak and no hope for the future and dead children and dead spouses and a lot of unhappiness, they all have their place in fiction, but not for us. And so I try to tell people, you can probably sell this somewhere else, but this is not the place for that. One of the things people dislike a great deal is that it's similar to something, because when it comes from your head, you think, well, it's unique. I didn't tell that story, but unfortunately, I don't know if it's the internet or cultural gestalt or something, but a lot of times we will get similar stories from different people at different places in the world even. And it's baffling. And the thing is, it's like, if I go out for sushi one night, okay, sushi is not a good description because I would go out for sushi twice in a week. But anyway, you go out for dinner and then the next night someone's like, hey, I got a great restaurant for you to try. It's the same cuisine as you had last night. You might go, I'm sure it's great, but I just ate. And that is what we have too too many stories that are similar. That's what that means. It's not, you just didn't put your food in front of them before the other one did. Metaphor needs work, but I'm going with it. And that's one of those things that it's very frustrating when the story's great, but it can't get published. And that is baffling and hurtful. But it has to do with what they're publishing, which you can research, and what they just bought, which you can't research. And it's sad, but true. I made notes. I really did. I think the thing that people have the most problems with are, this was fairly good, but it just didn't excite me, which is very vague. Or a boilerplate, thanks for submitting, it's not for us. Now, there's a difference between thanks for submitting, it's not for us, boilerplate, and our top tier rejections of this is not for us, because we'll usually say, this is a bleak story, it's not for us. Boilerplate is, this is not a good story, and I either don't have the time or the finesse to tell you why. And sometimes, and this is also sad but true, sometimes it's just they're in a bad mood. You know, Valerie and I talk, and I'm just like, you know what? I hated everything I read today, and I think it might be me. So I think I should not read anymore and then read again tomorrow. Because the editor's day can affect what stories they like. I can't remember where the study was done, but somebody did a study on parole hearings. And if you got in front of the judge, like by 11, you had a much better chance of being paroled than like middle of the afternoon on, because they're tired. They're just ready to get out of there. They don't care as much. So, and that's, again, something you can't control. Yes, Valerie says, as professionals, we try to be aware of this and work with it so we don't penalize people. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, we try to recognize it in ourselves and say, we'll come back to this the next time. I'll read it again tomorrow or something. But when you get the just the boilerplate, that's the hardest thing, because you don't know what's broken. And my guess is my across the board advice, like, it may not fit you, but just overall my advice is, if you're getting boilerplate rejections, you might need to workshop the story some more. Because if they're not telling you what's wrong with it, but it's clear there's something wrong with it, maybe it's just an overall weakness. And this is the thing I hate to say most of all, but you may need to move on and write another story. If you're in chat and you want to tell me, I'm really curious how many submissions y'all give to a story before you trunk it. I am, if you feel like telling me, because it's a hard thing to, it's a hard thing to hear, and it's a hard thing to deal with. It's a hard thing to know what to do with when you get that little information. Typically 15 to 20, but new markets open all the time. Okay. I think one of the hardest parts about rejectomancy is it comes from the thing we fear most of all, which is a rejection. And we want to find We want to find the key to the door that we feel just got slammed in our faces. And again, maybe you shouldn't go through that door. Maybe it's not a bad thing. Also, and this only feels good on hindsight, I'm so sorry, but it's true. Valerie can probably back me up on this. Under Pope, you too. That sometimes once you've published a couple of things, you look back on your early publications and you think, oh, I don't want to claim that. I can't believe I got that published. You know, a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I've heard people mention that they regret their first book because they're so much better now. Octavia Butler has a book that she didn't want to claim anymore. And I remember reading the agonies of an Octavia Butler fan group that was, or a book club that was going through all of her books. And they were debating whether they should read this book that she's just like, this is not a good book. Don't read it. I don't like it. Because, you know, to a reader, that's part of the author's journey through writing life. But to the author, it's like, maybe don't read that one. I can do better now. Yes. Valerie and Under Pope are agreeing with me. So when you get rejections, it's kind of like someone turned you down for a date and then you later find out they're a jerk. And you realize they did you a favor when they turned you down. But that's so hard to recognize when that's the best thing you've ever written up to now. And we're going to pause. It says there's an ad break coming in. If it does not come in like 30 seconds, let me know and I'll keep going. But, well, it's really hard for me to take ad breaks during interviews because I don't want to interrupt people. I can at least do it now. Okay, it was counting down an ad thing, and now it's just like nothing. And usually it tells me when it's running ads. Man, I thought this technology was supposed to be getting better. Okay, I'll keep going. So sometimes you don't think that you think it's the best thing you've ever written in the world. But in hindsight, in a couple of years, you might think, well, I'm much better now. So it was good that didn't get published. Now it says there's an ad break. Nope, not yet. Okay. Well, it's saying there's an ad break right now. Lies. Twitch lies. Okay. I'll just check my notes. Now, okay. Unfortunately, I don't have time to renew my seltzer. I'm rationing it. I've been rereading The Stand. And it's taken me a long time, but I still realize I think I've found some parts in it that are weak. And considering that's one of Stephen King's best loved books, I think. And it's taken me, years and years to find weaknesses in it. I think when you love something, it's like the bad parts stand out to you because you want it to be perfect. And this one thing isn't perfect. It says we're done. Are we back? No idea. Okay, we're back. Thank you, Ian. I was going on about The Stand and how I've found some weaknesses and insecurities, inconsistencies, even though it is one of his best books. But it just always really bothers me at the end when the baby catches the flu, and I'm like, I don't think germs work that way. Because I'll have to ask, my infectious diseases friend. But, spoiler for a book that's, 40 years old. But at the very end, the woman who's pregnant through the book has a child, and it catches the flu, the super flu that wiped out like 99.9% of the population. But he survives, and they say, it's probably because his mom was immune. But there are tons of people who had children die of the flu while they were immune. So how did Peter get immune to the flu? And he wasn't immune. He got it. He was sick. So that is one of my beefs with The Stand. It's still brilliant, and I love it. One of the hardest things to hear is also, this is great, but I don't know what to do with it. And again, this mostly happens with books, because when you sell a book, you are not just selling to the editor that you or your agent are talking to. You have to sell to the marketing department. And marketing and sales, you got to sell to them too. Only you don't do it. The editor does it. I'm not trying to throw a unexpected tribunal at new authors here. It's more, the editor can love the book, but then they have to go to sales and marketing to talk about whether they can buy it. And sometimes sales and marketing will go, so they'll come back to you and say, I really love it, but we don't know what to do with it. And that's when you either send to another publisher or you work towards self-pubbing it. I know people who have done this and done quite well, because it was a good book. But, you got to think, the sales and marketing at publishers look at how many copies of the physical book can we buy and how much money will it make us. While if you self-publish it, it's going to be like, I can sell the ebook for really cheap and just sell thousands of copies. Hopefully. So that's that is one thing that gives you action, which is a high compliment, but still no sale. It feels a little bitter, but it should be able to galvanize you going forward. The same with when the story's similar to something they've already bought. There will be someone out there who hasn't bought it. And it's possible that magazine A that rejected your story because author F submitted it before you did, they might have gotten their story rejected from magazine B. And they'll look at your story and think, oh, this is much better than that last one we saw. That can happen. So when you get it's great, but not for us, or we have something similar, so we're not going to buy yours, that's a positive thing. You can take that and go somewhere with it. If they give you advice on how something is weak in the story, that's also good, because it gives you something to work on. Really, I think the worst one is either saying it's okay, but unremarkable, because I don't even know how to tell you to fix that. Valerie, do you know? Valerie has good instincts. Words. Valerie has good instincts with regards to this, but if someone rejects your story just because it's okay, what would you suggest they work on? Because, I don't know. When things are good but not awesome, it can be a lot of things, alas. Yes, exactly. I think you can always turn back to craft books and or your favorite. We don't talk about this enough. You can go and look at your sorry, someone just came in. Look at your craft books, but also look at your favorite books and stories. And read them like a student, not as a fan, and see if you can spot where things happened. Like, why was that character introduction so compelling? Why am I nervous about someone climbing a hill? And see how they did it. Another thing, and I've never had the patience to do this, I will be completely honest, but I've heard this works. Just like artists sometimes try to paint like on top of a famous painting to try to get the feel of it, some writers will take a favorite story and write it out just so they could get the feeling of those words moving through them. I'm not saying plagiarize, I'm saying this is a exercise that you do to see how you feel writing the words of a master. Valerie says, I think sometimes one of the main tweaks people can look for is improved cohesion, consistency of figurative language, clear theme. Yes. That's true. I was thinking about adverbs the other night. I've brought Stephen King up in this before. For somebody who hates adverbs, according to On Writing, he certainly has invented a lot. Not just used, invented. And, people like that terrible person in Scotland or Dan Brown, you can look at their books, I've heard, and find the many, many flaws in them. Or the weak writing of using adverbs all over the place. Or wooden characters. But they did something else so good that no one cares. And I feel like adverbs are leaving your bed unmade. Like, it's gonna add to the rumpledness of the room if everything else is crap too. But if everything else in the room looks great and you've got a messy bed, it's going to be like, well, all right, well, that's easy to fix. But, we barely even noticed it at all. It's a good thing to learn as a basic thing. But, once you know how to write a good sentence that people can imagine, you can use adverbs. That's what I get out of it. Slight adverb rant, but I'll never forgive Stephen King for footlessly. Yep, footlessly. What are other things people... Oh, well, here's my favorite thing, and this has happened to me, and it is infuriating. And that is no. I have had books turned down by editors that I was working with, and the answer was no. The answer wasn't, let's work with this, or can you pitch me something with different characters, or make a different POV character, or anything offering to work with me. But the answer was no. And what you do about that, I can't tell you, but I can tell you what I'm doing for myself, which is I'm writing it out of spite. So we'll see what happens. Someone said no, and I said, all right, I'll write it, and if my agent can't sell it, then I'll release it on Patreon. I want to write this book. So, and I think even though you may need to improve your craft, or the editor had a point when they said your characters were weak or two-dimensional, you're still writing the thing that you want to write, and you will get another idea. So remember, the more you write, the more ideas you'll have to write more. But if you stop and you just throw your body and soul into getting this one book or one story published, and every rejection cuts away at you, you're not going to improve as a writer. And I'm even saying, like, even if you eventually sell the book, you will not have improved because you've been focusing so much on that book and not moving on with your idea. Because even if it sells, I don't see a lot of people getting like 10 book deals in a series anymore. I'm not sure if they're even doing that anymore. Like the Dresden Files and Scalzi's Old Man's War books. Those keep going. But even if you sell it, you're going to need to write something else. So remember that when you are worrying about whether this book of your heart or this story of your heart is going to sell, whether it sells or not, you have to write another book eventually. So why not start now? Yes, thank you, Medius. Sometimes you just need to get an idea onto the page so you can get it out of your head and move on to the next project. Yes, that's true. I once tried to write a story from dreams, and writing a story from dreams is very difficult because your subconscious puts emotional connection to things that don't make sense to anybody else. It makes sense to your subconscious. So when you try to explain your dream or write your dream, it's not going to have, I'll just say it's very unlikely to have the emotional punch that you felt when you woke up. And I've had this once. I had a dream. It was profound. It really affected me. I woke up and I'm like, that's my next story. And I worked really hard to write it out, and it wasn't good. I sent it to some of my workshop friends from Viable Paradise, and it was not a hit. But it felt good to get it out. It wasn't living in my head anymore. I was kind of sad, but it was more sad on my level of, yeah, you guys are right. This isn't very strong because I'm not able to present the emotions that the dream gave me. So I got it out, and I don't think about it anymore, except to tell that anecdote. But I am running out of voice. We've got a pretty good group in the chat. Does anybody have any Rejectomancy questions or, submission questions in general we could talk about? Be happy to answer them. And if you're not watching the live stream, and you have one right now, email me, mightymur@gmail.com. I'm delighted to get questions, and I'll answer them either in email or on the stream. Let me know. That is the bot. That's not anybody asking a question. Maybe I should get the bot to ask questions. No, that leans too much into that crap we don't want to talk about. Okay. I will make a small announcement. I'm going to be going to, I want to say it's Convergence. The problem with all of these conventions who try to name their convention with a pun on con, it gets in my head and it's really hard to remember. But yeah, in May, beginning of May, I'll be the guest of honor at DemiCon, which is in Des Moines. And then I'll be appearing just as a panelist at, I want to say I'm going to look it up while you guys think of questions or something. I got to make sure I got this right. Nope, I don't think that's it. Dang. It's not convergence is something else. Congregate. Another pun on con. Okay. Congregate. It's mid-July, 17th through 19th. I'll be attending. I'm not sure how many days I'll be attending because on one hand it's like, oh, it's in North Carolina. It's close. On the other hand, it's like, it's an hour away. Do I get a hotel room when I live an hour away and it feels like too much money, or do I drive an hour and be really tired and not be able to stay up late and do con stuff? So we will see. But I will be at Congregate. That's it. So nobody has any Rejectomancy questions, so I will go ahead and end this. Thank you guys for showing up in the live stream, and thank you for listening later. IntelliGame, hello! I feel like keeping a list of rejections would be kind of disheartening to look at. Any tips for keeping the motivation up? Okay, this is an excellent question, actually. Most authors I know have kept their rejections. Speaking of Stephen King again, I know that he drilled a hole in the... He, put a nail in the wall and left it, sticking out. And then every time he got a rejection, he would just put it on the nail. And now you can't do that so much unless you want to print out your rejections. But what we do in IntelliGame is we celebrate them. We have not been doing regular celebrating on the stream in a couple of years, which I feel like I've dropped the ball, because we used to celebrate most good news, but also we celebrated rejections, because rejections mean you're a working writer. It's the non-fun part of the job. I always equate it to, so you wanted to own a bar your whole life, and you've got your bar and it's making money, and someone threw up in the bathroom, and that's also part of your job to take care of that, or hire someone too. But the metaphor's a little weak, but still, point is that it's part of the job. And people who don't get rejections are people who are not writing. And if you want to write, you got to accept it's part of the job. So we celebrate it. We cheer, we get really excited. A couple of years ago, Underpope in chat hit 100 rejections in the year. I believe Pauline, who's not in the chat today, didn't she just hit 1,000 lifetime rejections? She just hit one major milestone. I can't remember what it was. But it's like, it's part of the job. And if you keep working you keep working on the job and writing, the chances are better that you will eventually sell something. I think it was 500. Okay, Underpope, thanks. But yeah, Underpope, can you give any advice to IntelliGame? Because you've gone through a lot of counting and celebrating rejections. And you don't have to. I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I also know there's lag, so... yeah, being spite-powered does require a little bit of energy. But it does help me with some things. But other times, I think maybe the story wasn't good enough, or maybe it needs tweaks, or maybe it wasn't for that person. And then you move on. And when you accept it as part of the job, it's not quite so painful. It's like when, they do this to salespeople. They say, try to hit this many no's before lunch. Try to get this many rejections or this many failures before lunch. Because they know when you work on that many, your chances of succeeding is a lot higher. Underbook says, it's hard. I made a regular schedule and put it on my calendar. Monday, submit. Thursday, submit. I just kept going. Yeah, exactly. You got to do that. And it is hard. I'm not lying. I'm not trying to make it, Pollyanna silly, but the truth is that it's, if you treat it as part of the job, it's going to come sooner or later, and you can do that part of the job and keep going. Really. So I know it's hard. It's hard for me. I'm going to be sending a number of projects to my agent soon. And while I like them all, and I would really love to work on them all, I'll be lucky if he sells one. And then I'll have to put the other ones away or on the back burner, at least. Does anybody else have any questions? Everyone should go and follow Intelligame, actually. That's the wrong button. Did that work? Yeah, hooray. Yes, Intelligame does, as the name says, intelligent gaming, a lot of talking about what goes on behind a game, social, political, all sorts of considerations when it comes to the stories within games. But now you're playing Final Fantasy X, which means you're battling Sin, which is just... That was a weird game. A lot of the Final Fantasy has stuff going on that's just like, okay, yeah, that happened. That's what we're fighting, okay. The little scary turtle men with what are they called? The little scary turtle men in cloaks with lanterns. You just run away from them. Doesn't sound scary. Scariest monster in the game. Oh, thank you, Josh. That's very sweet. But let me see who's on. Then I got to do the end of the podcast. Oh, that's right. They got a Cleaver of Doom, too. Nope, I don't know anybody who's streaming. Okay. Really, I'm going to give away a bunch of books on an upcoming podcast. What I'm probably going to do is announce it on the stream so you guys can hear it if you watch the stream instead of listen to the podcast. And then I'll put it on the front of the podcast, and everybody who has to write in and say they want to be part of the giveaway. That's the only way I can think to do it. I'd prefer to do it on the stream, but honestly, I don't have that big of an audience to really give away stuff. Tonberries, thank you. Tonberries, they're awful. Anyway, let me end the thing. Right. But yeah, thank you guys for listening or coming to the stream of I Should Be Writing. You can reach me at mightymur@gmail.com. The blog and show notes are at murverse.com. And the Patreon is getting revamped as we speak. And it is patreon.com/mightymur, where you will get behind the scenes video. You'll get early episodes. You'll get ad-free episodes and other amazing things. So check it out and help keep the lights on. Patreon.com/mightymur. I stream Thursdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I have another podcast with T. Kingfisher, but T. Kingfisher is a very, very busy writer, and so we don't really stick to a regular schedule. We try to hit Mondays at 3 p.m., but not every Monday. But you can also listen to the podcast for free anywhere you can get podcasts. So that is the cool part about that. Thank you for listening. Check out my books, check out my podcasts, and you should be writing. And that's it. Thank you, Underpope. Take care. Everyone keep submitting, yes. But, and everybody go follow Intelligame, and the kids are asleep. Any other streamers in chat? I don't think so. If you are, speak up, and I'm sorry. But, yeah, I'll see you guys next time.